Hello, this is the first post of Consider This with Doug Poretz. I'm going to take this opportunity to outline what you can expect here. Let's start with a little background about me. I've spent more than 50 years building a career in public relations. I've worked as a PR professional, and I've created and overseen campaigns for 3 NYSE companies where I was part of the executive team. I've also been an entrepreneur, having founded or co-founded 5 agencies where I've worked with hundreds more enterprises that broaden the scope of my experience. Enterprises at all stages of the business life cycle. Enterprises that range from a local cheese shop to global economic development campaigns. Organizations enjoying great success as well as those in crisis mode. Public, pre-public, private, or nonprofit organizations, as well as governments and government agencies. In other words, I have a ton of experience I really want to share with you with the hope you find it of value or at least interesting. When at the same time that I have been building my experience, I've also developed a bunch of opinions from my 5-decade perch looking at the world from the C-suite, focused on how people and organizations communicate and what works and what doesn't. I'd love to know your own reactions to what I post here, as well as your suggestions for future topics. I'll be posting videos like this, just a few minutes long and to the point, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The topics will always have some nexus to communication, and a few broad themes will emerge. For example, I'm a big believer that the model for the PR business and profession is out of date and needs to be disrupted. I'll justify that conclusion based on more than 2 decades of research by Michael Tomasello that makes a hard-to-dispute case that the human animal communicates to collaborate. Despite that reality, the goal of PR campaigns is to persuade their target in a barrage of one-way messages to convince them to think or act consistent with the interests of whoever is paying for the campaign. That is about as opposite as you can be from the collaborative communications approach, and the consequences of that mistake ripple through PR agencies and their relationships with their clients and employees. And I'll suggest some ideas that I think will remedy the flawed model the communication industry has used with only nominal change for the past 100 plus years. I'm also very concerned that the effort to engineer public consent is becoming more frequent and more possible every day as very talented people create great campaigns with the benefit of big data and the ability to tailor messages to highly defined audiences. I'm worried because I don't think most people realize just how powerful strategic PR campaigns can be. I hope to shine a light on that issue. Also, consider this. About 2,300 years ago, Aristotle warned about the dangers of the elite having too much influence on how things are done. He observed that whenever people with power have the option to support what is best for themselves or the general public, they will always support what is in their own best interests. Today, I think there is a special urgency to focus on the reality that great wealth is concentrated in the hands of fewer people who happen to control both the content and infrastructure of today's globally connected information network, what has become the human neural system. So we need to take a look at that. But there is one big topic that I think we need to really dig into, the communication revolution. Most people will acknowledge that there has been a communication revolution, but they usually define it as a series of technology breakthroughs. Although the communication revolution couldn't have been realized without great tech achievements, focusing on technology masks the reality that the communication revolution has been a human revolution with monumental human consequences. And we'll take our first deep dive into that subject in the next video. If these are the kind of topics that intrigue you, please subscribe to Consider This with Doug Poretz. There's no fee. And, even more important, let me know your ideas, your criticism, trends you think are being ignored. In other words, let's collaborate. So, in our next video, we're going to take a close look at the communication revolution, which I will define as a million-year quest by the human animal to change the very nature of communication, a quest that the human has just recently won, which raises the question, what now? See you next time.